Today is ToesDay. We are talking about relationships. So there's a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, do toes change? One of the things that happens when I sit with somebody is toes change. It's amazing. It's a miracle. So, you know, when you have those aha moments where something sort of clicks into place, it might be something that you've heard over and over and over. It might be something that you are just hearing for the first time, but it's like that pow, really, really exciting moment where it looks like something dramatic has happened to how you view maybe even just the whole world around you, right? That's what I refer to as an aha moment. And when we have those aha moments, what happens in our toes is it literally shifts every single toe, because it's really an awareness that serves everything in our life, right? Who here has experienced that? Whether you're on the live or whether you're watching the replay, I would love to hear in the comments. So I am Jamie Allen Bishop. I have my company Soul Heart Entertainment. At Soul Heart Entertainment, we do talent. We provide talent really for private parties and events. We also are starting up a retreat situation all next year. We're going to be doing some retreats in Sedona. So exciting. And those will be transformational style retreats. Hey, Natalie, how are you? So glad you're here. So those retreats will be in Sedona, and we'll be announcing the times and who all will be speaking at those events, but they will be personal transformation events. They'll be hybrid events. There'll be some we'll invite some people, whatever the legalities are with that or the suggestions from the CDC. And then we'll also be streaming those online. So that will be super, super exciting. I cannot wait. And then the third leg of Soul Heart Entertainment, which most people who have hired us before know this, but it's something I'm just starting to actually advertise, which is that we offer coaching services. So whether it's personal transformation, whether it's life, whether it's very specific to one question that needs to be answered, so maybe it's just a one session situation. Also business is the kind of the newest, latest, greatest thing. So I'm super, super excited to be offering coaching services for businesses, specifically entrepreneurial services. But let's get down to toe reading, because that's why you're here today. So I'll just go over the toe reading map super, super quick. Our right foot is our external self, or our yang self. Our left foot is our internal self, or our yin self. That has to do with how we show up on the inside, how we show up on the outside. So if we're looking down at our feet, the big toe is our ether toe, which is all about our destiny. The second toe is our air toe, which is all about communication. It shows up in that throat chakra of ours. The third toe is our fire toe. That's where our action and our temperament shows up. The fourth toe is our water toe, which is what we'll be talking about today, relationships. So if you have any questions about relationships, type them in the comments below and I'll be able to answer them live. And if you're watching the replay, I'll answer them after as well. And then the last one is the earth toe, the baby toe. That is the only one that's different from the right side to the left side. Everything else shows up pretty much exactly the same. It just has to do with your internal self versus your external self. So the earth toe shows up on the left side as our faith and trust, and on our right side as our prosperity and abundance. The only other thing that you need to know about the toe reading map is that when toes or flesh or your toenail leans toward the big toe, that is all about our past thoughts and actions in our life. And when it leans toward the baby toe, it's all about our future and, where we worry really about our future, right? So I don't know if you've heard this before, and let me know if you have, but depression is when we focus too much on the past. Anxiety is when we focus too much on the future. The only place to be at peace and happy is right here, right now, baby. So that's a little bit about how toe reading works and what or at least the map of the toe reading. And if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. But one of the things that I like showing is this map of where the body hologram shows up on the feet. So if we're looking at the feet as if you're standing at the bed and you're looking at the bottom side of the feet, right? This is how it shows up. This is how the hologram of our body shows up. So the shoulder of responsibility goes right across where the toes meet the feet. I'm gonna just pull up a picture here and show you that it's basically from that, what would normally be the corn sort of area, all the way to the burden of responsibility on the, I don't know why this always escapes me, but you know, the big toe, the bunion, there it is. Thank you, Lord. So the bunion is all about stuff that we hold on from the past, whereas that corn is all about the things that we worry about regarding our future. So isn't that interesting? And where it shows up on the hologram of the body is across that shoulder. So I always kind of picture Atlas carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. There's my sweet kitty Bagheera. She's not so sweet. She's only sweet to me. All right, so we're talking about relationships today, and I kind of wanted to point out where relationships show up on the hologram of the body. So if you have shoulder pain or hip pain, or let's say things on the side of your body aren't working so well, sometimes the kidney pain shows up there. Those have a tendency, those pain points have a tendency to be related to relationships in our lives. Isn't that crazy? So that is based on the 5,000-year-old tradition of reflexology, which is what toe reading is based on. So let's talk about relationships. So I kind of use these toes as a sort of a model of, I'm trying to get it so that the light isn't reflecting off of this glossy photo. So I kind of use this set of feet as sort of a basis of where toes are coming straight off of the foot, where, you know, the burden of responsibility, it doesn't look too heavy on the future side. I can't really tell, but because the toes aren't turned away. Okay, bummer. Oh, yay, we're back. Super. Okay, sorry about my internet disconnected, so I'm wondering if I shouldn't take this down to, anyway, if the internet gives us trouble, I'll just keep recording and you can take a look at it afterwards. And if you have questions or comments, let me know below. Anyway, what I was saying was I use these toes, this example of toes, as somebody who's pretty much what you see is what you get. They show up in the world. They're not too burdened. They're not too overwhelmed. There's not a whole lot of bumps in the road that they've experienced. But here's the caution about these toes. They may show up looking perfect, but they're not. In toe reading, we look for the fine things that keep us stuck, that keep us in place, that keep us not making progress in our lives. And where these toes in relationship show that they're stuck is if you can see that if you took this toe and, you know, took it straight down the middle, the future side of the toe shows up as, you know, a little bit more exposed. There's a little bit more flesh on that side of the toenail. And then on the past side, there's some hiding happening there. Can you see that? Where there's hiding of that toe underneath the action and temper toe. So thank you for sticking with me. I'm sorry, my internet was acting up. So on the relationship toe, on these, what would appear to be, fairly non-dramatic, fairly even keel, this is a pretty reliable person. There's nothing that they've really gone through that's been horribly traumatizing to them. However, they have a tendency to show up in that place of worrying too much about what they say, okay, and how that's going to how that's going to affect their communication, their action, and therefore their relationship. So they have a tendency to hide in the action. So this is going to be somebody who may or may not ever complete a project. They obviously have super big ideas, and there's a lot going on as far as their destiny is concerned, but there's a little bit of hesitation and there's a little bit of holding back, and you can tell because that relationship toe is sort of hiding. And so the question at hand for the person who owns these feet is that where are they hiding in their relationships? Where does it not feel like they're being authentically showing up in their relationships? So where is it not serving them, the relationship itself? So maybe they're hiding, I'll use myself as an example. For the very longest time, I wouldn't tell anybody that I was a toe reader. It's too woo-woo. It's not, it's way too witchy. It's way too, it's that, to me, in the back of my head, it was admitting basically that it was a bunch of crap, right? But the more it nagged on me and the more I realized what a powerful tool it is in order to be able to get down to the nitty-gritty of what we're doing that's not serving us anymore, the more I embraced that those people who were judging it or who I thought might judge it that way, they just weren't ready to learn about it, and that's okay. It's okay that they're not ready. But I needed to show up because this is a tool that I love. It serves me really well in that it helps me connect with that intuitive side and verbalize what comes through for me, or really for my clients. I get to be the conduit, which is my favorite thing in the whole wide world to be, because it's funny. When I sit with somebody for a toe reading, they'll talk to me later and say, oh yeah, because toe readings, as you can tell, if you've seen any of the other videos, toe readings can be super, super personal, and they can get down to the heart of things that we would rather not even discuss. We'd rather maybe even not know that those challenges exist in our life, right? So to sit with a toe reader is really putting your faith and trust that they're going to honor those stories that show up for us, right? So when people sit with me, they have a tendency to kind of bare their soul to me, not just through their feet, but then they'll tell me the story that goes with whatever is showing up, right? So it sort of ends up being a really intimate session. And, after the fact, they might come to me and say, oh yeah, you remember when, and they go on to tell me something that might have occurred during a toe reading. And I have to remind them, like I'll say it to you guys today, when I sit in toe reading space, I am the conduit, I am the messenger, I am connected to your source and angel guides. And it's not information that's for me always. Of course, if it's coming through, maybe I need to hear it too, right? I think that all of us as practitioners and people who teach any kind of self-improvement situation or tool or whatever, we are in the process or just ahead of wherever our clients are, right? It's it's kind of like helping somebody up. It's helping them up from a place that you can recognize as the practitioner, right? So I mention that because they'll ask me if I remember, but I don't, because I'm just being the conduit. I'm just being the person who tells them what they need to hear in the moment. And if I need to hear it too, maybe I remember it better. But oftentimes it's not at all the case. So it's super, super interesting because it's a very intimate and personal session. And I hope that nobody's offended when I don't remember, because honestly, when I don't remember, that means that I'm really truly acting as basically a liaison between their angel guides and what they need to know, right? I'm just the voice. So it's kind of cool. It's a really powerful and yet super humbling position to be in. And I'm honored by it, really. And yes, it is huge, Natalie, I saw that. So I'm thinking that let's look at, all right, you know what? I'm going to do it. I was maybe going to not do this, but let's look at these set of toes, because there's something happening here that I think will be super, super exciting and important to look at. Okay, so this is somebody that has super big ideas. They're coming forward with those ideas. They may be a little bit in the future about those ideas, but where that affects their relationships to higher self and to the people out in the world is that there's a little bit of future thoughts happening there. So see how the toe, the relationship toe kind of curves to the floor and then also shoots toward the big toe, right? So that has a tendency to mean that we're maybe, when a toe is down toward the floor, I kind of think of Eeyore or Snuffleupagus, like those kind of mopey, like, I don't know if this is happening. I don't know if it's gonna work. Kind of those, the more sad, the more like focused on the drama or what's not going right in the world, right? Or what's not going right maybe in the relationships. So what's really interesting is on the higher self side, on the left side, if you see there's a little bruise on the action toe, that middle toe, that action and temperament. So that bruise, when a bruise shows up like that, I have a tendency to wonder where temper or action, and remember this is on the internal self side, so where temper and action are showing up as bruised or wounded or not feeling good, right? And because it's showing up, it's time to release it. It's time to let it go. It's time to, gift it back to Mother Earth, who can transform it and make it into something really, really beautiful and amazing, right? So I just think that's super, super neat. I think that's a super neat set of feet. Okay, so let's move on to these guys. If we don't have any questions, let's move on to these guys. All right, so we have these feet. What, the first thing that I see, what do you see about, was on my right foot? Interesting. God, I really have no idea how that turned out that way. Natalie, we'll just pretend it was on the left foot for the purposes of this explanation. If it's showing up on the right foot, it's the same thing, it's the same message, it's just for your external self and your external relationships. So where in the, I know that you and I have talked about this, so I know that's the weird switch one. Listen, it is what it is. So bizarre, but we'll just roll with it, right? Why not? But when that bruise shows up on the right side, we're talking about external relationships. So where is the temper or the action bruised, right? And specifically because that bruise is showing up on the relationship side of that toe, or the future side of that toe, where is the worry or concern, or where can we release it? Where can that happen so that we, yeah, I mean, right? No big deal. No big deal. Well, it is a big deal. I know you know that, but those releasing energies, that situation where we can look a little bit deeper at what's going on, because action and temperament have a tendency to show up externally really volatilely when we're ready to release something. Maybe it will boil up inside us and make us really, really angry and trigger us in such a way. Let's see what you're saying. But my dog stepped on my foot, just not clear how that works. So, listen, our animals are our guides. There's not even question to me about that. If our animals could actually talk to us in a communication form that we recognized as humans, and some people do or claim to, I think that we would find that they have a whole heck of a lot of information to tell us. Not the least of which is, when I think of a dog stepping on a foot and causing a bruise, I think of things in your life happening too fast. So fast that they feel out of control. So fast that they're bruising you because you're not taking care of your internal self. Okay, does that make sense? So, right. So it's kind of, or I think of it anyway, as our guides, our spirit guides, God, whatever feels comfortable to you, the otherworldly aspects of our energy and vibrational being have a tendency to show up in the physical manifestation of the people and things around us. So even if, let's say, okay, so this happens all the time. I'm gonna go to this story. This happens all the time. When a couple is moving, somebody drops furniture on somebody else's toe. It just happens. It's one of those things, right? It's not intentional. It's not, but maybe it's born out of frustration. Maybe it's born out of not communicating properly. Maybe it's because the action is not in flow with each other, right? But always when that happens, let me tell you something, you guys have got to pay attention, because that is a huge, huge message from universal energy to pay attention to which toe that accident happened to. Because inevitably, if it's the relationship toe, it's time to cut those ties and move on. It's like, to me, it's like such a clear message. Like, if this is not, and I say that with respect in that maybe it's time to cut ties with that behavior in that relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean that specific relationship is over, but at the same time it does. Because, hi Kim, thanks for joining. So glad you're here. So it's more around the idea that relationships have a tendency to grow or die, right? So when we injure our toes in a move or in partnership with our significant other, it's time to look at where that wound is happening and what needs to shift in that relationship. It's kind of like the clearest sign our angels could possibly give us in the moment, right? Anyway, does that make sense to everybody? Does that sound like something that you understand? I'm going to assume yes. All right, so let's take a quick look at the next set of feet. And this will probably, okay, thank you for the confirmation, Natalie. This will probably be the last little set that we talk about. So if you notice on these feet, the big toe and the second toe, the communication toe and the destiny toe, are on both feet, so on the left and the right, are very separate, okay? So this is somebody who's going to need a lot of time to themselves. And when they don't get it, they turn into a holy terror. There's a certain amount of narcissism in that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad or that they show up as a negative or bad person. You know, it's just that this particular person needs a lot of time to themselves to process all of the information that they receive. Because when you see those toes wide open like that, they show up just like baby toes. They show up wanting to suck in all the information possible in the universe, right? So I kind of picture it as, you know, you're reaching up to the universe for all the information that you need in order to not just survive, but thrive, okay? So how that relates to the relationship toe is that you can see, or hopefully you can see, if my camera is focusing, this particular set of toes has a little bit of a reliance on the action and temper. Their relationship toe is not separated. Does that make sense? There's not a clear separation. Let me find a set of toes if I can. Okay. So these, the red shoe toes, these have, and granted, I realize that they're at the salon and they're showing up as toes that are separated, but they're not actually physically separated. There's no tissue there. There's no anything like that. But look at how each of these toes has a little separation in between each of them, right? So that's what's kind of missing in that other set of toes. Let me see if I can find it again. Oh, these toes. Where when she's needing the space, she doesn't want to take it for herself. So it would be, where are you not taking time for yourself that will reboot your energy? And then so because of that, she's probably showing up in her relationships as a toxic person in those relationships. So that's where that narcissism, or, you know, what we're calling narcissism in relationships today. Narcissism itself is not a bad thing. It just means that we need time to ourselves to reset. We need time to take in information. We need time to read. We need time to learn. We need time just for us. So if we're in relationship or we're raising kids and all of our effort and energy is going to those outside of us, we feel very drained. We feel very we don't feel taken care of, and that's something that person needs. They need to be able to feel taken care of, and the best way for that person to do it is to take care of themselves and to just have that alone time. So if you guys have narcissists in your life or people that are challenging in the narcissist arena, that's one of the ways that you can shift that energy for them or help them shift that energy for themselves. Because when a narcissist takes time for themselves, holy cow, they come back to the relationships as a completely different person, and so healed and so giving and loving and so willing to show up as their best version of themselves. Where when they don't show up or when they don't take care of themselves, they have a tendency to show up and say, gimme, 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 because they're not taking the time for themselves. Does that make sense? So I just love how these relate to relationships, how all the toes kind of fold into that relationship toe. But I just want to, because I brought these toes into the equation, I just want to comment really quickly on, because these toes are evenly separated. And I don't know if you guys notice, but a lot of yoga masters will really focus on separating their toes so that they have that really good grounded base on their feet, and they feel, I kind of think of it as a duck, like you're spreading your toes and trying to really hold yourself steady and still in that foundational position, right? It just gives yourself a little bit more surface area to have that foundation in. So somebody that has toes like that are nice, neatly separated, holy cow, if there's any chaos or mayhem in their lives, if things don't have a place, they feel so out of sorts and so out of whack, it would make them crazy. So that's somebody who's super, super organized. If you need to be organized, look at somebody's feet who has that nice little spacing between each of their toes, because that's going to be somebody who's going to be brilliant at organizing. Anyway, so I hope that you guys have learned something about relationships today. If you have any questions for the future programs this month, with this whole month is all about relationships. So I would love to show you some different toes and different things if you have specific questions about relationships. I know we're all going to be spending a little bit more time with our family, even if it's only virtually. So help me help you manage those relationships this month. And Jamie with Soul Heart Entertainment, thank you so much for being here. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Bye for now.